Every wild horse left on Earth came from just 12 survivors. 12 animals captured between 1898 and 1947 are the entire reason this species still exists. The last one vanished from the wild in 1969. For a while, the Przewalski's horse lived nowhere except behind fences, a species with a heartbeat but no home left to return to. Today, 900 of them run free again in China's Gobi. One woman spent 30 years making that happen. This is not a story about a desert getting greener. It is about a species that disappeared completely from its native range, and the long, unglamorous fight it took to bring it home. A Przewalski's horse is not a wild Mustang gone feral. Mustangs are domestic horses that escaped and went wild again. This is something else entirely, the only truly wild horse species left on the planet, never domesticated, never broken to a saddle, never bred for a rider's purpose. Its DNA carries 66 chromosomes against the 64 found in every domestic horse on Earth. They can still interbreed, which is itself part of the danger to the bloodline, but they are not the same animal. While humans spent centuries breeding Clydesdales for strength and Arabians for speed, this horse stayed exactly as it was 40,000 years ago, when our ancestors were painting its shape and its stripes onto cave walls. The fall took most of the 20th century. Hunting thinned the herds. Brutal winters did the rest that hunting did not. Livestock, brought in by the millions to graze the same grassland, crowded the horses off land they had used for 10,000 years. The decline was not a single event. It was a slow erosion that nobody in power was tracking closely enough to stop. The last confirmed wild sighting anywhere on Earth was a lone stallion spotted in the Dzungarian Gobi in 1969. After that sighting, there is nothing. No tracks, no herds, no foals born free. The species existed only behind fences, in zoos, on a continent away from the desert it had evolved to survive in. And a zoo horse, however well fed, is not a wild one. It does not know how to find water on its own. It does not know what a winter without heated barns feels like. The species survived only because a handful of captive bloodlines were kept alive long enough for someone to try bringing them home. That attempt was not a weekend project or a single triumphant flight. It was a 40-year problem that nobody at the start knew how to solve, and most of the world assumed would fail. Every living Przewalski's horse today descends from roughly 12 wild-caught founders. That number is not 12 animals standing in a field at one moment, it is 12 separate bloodlines. The only threads that made it into captivity before the wild population vanished entirely. After the Second World War, the global captive population fell to roughly 30 horses, split between just two zoos, Munich and Prague. For a stretch of years, the entire future of the species lived inside two buildings, an ocean away from the desert it had once called home. In 1985, China launched a program with a name that states its purpose outright: Wild Horse Homecoming. The first 11 horses arrived at the newly built Jimsar Breeding Center in December 1986, shipped in from zoos in the United Kingdom and East Germany. By 2005, 24 horses in total would be imported from Western institutions. Each new bloodline a small insurance policy against a gene pool that had nearly run dry. The horses landed in a place with no reliable electricity, no paved roads, and almost nothing resembling comfort. That is where a 21-year-old veterinary graduate named Zhang Hefan joined the team that would spend the next 40 years trying to bring the species home. She arrived in 1995, posted to a remote research station most new graduates would have considered a punishment posting rather than a career. There was no easy way, at first, to tell one dun-colored horse from another. She learned anyway, one detail at a time, a slight limp, a change in appetite, which stallion had sired which foal, which mare favored which corner of the enclosure in a storm. Over the next 30 years, those small daily observations filled notebooks that eventually ran past 1 million characters. She went on to co-author the peer-reviewed research behind the reintroduction itself, and to write 7 books and more than 300 shorter pieces, speaking, in her own words, for the horses who could not speak for themselves. Bringing the horses back to Chinese soil was, in some ways, the easier half of the work. Letting them go again, after raising them, nearly broke the people who had spent their lives doing it. On March 8, 1988, International Women's Day, a mare named German No. 2 gave birth to a foal the team named Younger No. 1, the first Przewalski's horse ever born on Chinese soil. She was not just another foal in the record book. She was proof, finally, that the bloodline could not only survive the journey but take root here. On the ground, it had vanished from. For a program built almost entirely on a question mark, she became the first real answer. On May 14, 2000 Mother's Day, while Zhang happened to be away from the center on one of her rare breaks, German No. 2 died from complications during a difficult birth. Zhang wrote the news down in 4 words that carry the whole weight of it. She was born on Women's Day and died on Mother's Day. The ink blurred where the tears hit the page. That kind of cost did not stay contained on a page in a notebook. By around 2013, after close to 20 years of sun, wind, and bitter cold spent out in the field, Zhang's own body broke down with a chronic illness. She kept working through it anyway, because the horses did not stop needing her, and neither, in her mind, did the work. And every single year, the job asked her to do the one thing that ran directly against everything those years had built between her and the herd. You spend a horse's entire early life raising it, learning it, worrying over it through every winter, and then you open a gate and you walk away. Every time we release a batch, she has said, it feels like marrying off a daughter. You know she should go. Your heart still feels empty. On August 28, 2001, 27 horses were released into the Kalamili Reserve with no fences and no supplemental feeding. The first time in the program's history any horse had been left fully on its own. The reserve itself had been established back in 1982, nearly 14,000 square kilometers of arid Dzungarian Gobi, scrub and saxall, and the kind of open ground that swallows a herd whole on camera and reveals nothing about how hard it actually is to survive there. Mongolian wild ass and goitered gazelle already shared that ground. Now, for the first time in over 30 years, so did this horse. The reserve did not make the moment easy or symbolic. That first winter, blizzards moved through the reserve and killed several of the horses outright. The survivors had to be brought back behind fences just to make it through to spring. The wild does not forgive on the first attempt. The team adjusted what they could and tried again the following year and the year after that. Across the 2 decades that followed, in 19 separate release batches, Zhang personally helped send 176 horses out into the Yangtze Basin. Each release added to a population that kept climbing in a way almost nobody standing on that frozen runway in 1986 would have dared to predict. 392 horses now run wild in Xinjiang alone. 900 or more live across China when you count every population together. Close to a third of every Przewalski's horse left alive on the planet. From 12 founding bloodlines scattered across 2 zoos after a world war to 900 living, breathing animals back in the country their ancestors vanished from. It is worth saying plainly what this is, and just as plainly what it is not. These horses are not living fully wild and unaided, free of any human hand. In winters that drop to 30 below 0 degrees Celsius, they still return to fenced stations for fodder, because the desert in midwinter still offers less than they need to survive it. The gene pool, drawn from so few founders, is still narrow, and probably always will be. The work has no clean finish line where someone gets to declare it finally done. None of that is a flaw in the story. Owning it honestly is exactly what makes the number 900 mean something real. This was never going to be a tidy line from extinct to wild forever. It was always going to be a 40-year homecoming that is still, today, managed by hand, one release and one winter at a time. The whole species had to pass through the eye of a needle to get here 12 narrow threads of bloodline. No more, no less, and everything alive today, every herd now running loose across the Gobi, came through that single point. Nothing currently alive exists without that thread having held, against fairly long odds, for over a century. More horses go out every year. 30 more were released in April 2026. Zhang is still out on the patrols, still standing at the gate when it opens, still watching them go. She has said her purpose, after all these years, is simply to speak for them, for the pride and the quiet joy of an animal coming back to a homeland it was never supposed to see again. No bow on this one. No tidy ending. Just the open Gobi, and the horses still running through it.